Hi, I'm Imogen Lamport from Inside Out Style blog.
And I'm Jill Chivers from Shop Your Wardrobe. And today we've been asked to talk about a really fascinating topic, very close to my own heart, which is animal prints and how you wear them and what the various qualities are of them. And I think some people feel that animal prints might be a little outside of either their style comfort zone, or they might not suit them from a contrast or a colour perspective or a temperature perspective. It might be too warm or too cool for them. And we thought we'd demystify animal prints for you and show some examples from both our wardrobes about just how varied and variable animal prints really are.
So in fact, Jill is wearing an animal print that is actually very coloured. It's a high colour contrast. So people like Jill, who are high colour contrast, generally need a high colour contrast, and many animal prints are basically one colour, monochromatic shades of brown.
Right.
And so therefore they can go, oh, they can feel too dull.
Yes.
So therefore it's like, but there are sometimes high value contrast and high colour contrast options. And
Yeah.
this is a great high colour contrast, but it's actually only a medium value contrast.
Yeah, which I didn't realise how perfect it was for me until Imogen explained all of that, which is in a video we'll link to here. And it just makes it perfect in and of itself.
Versus if we look at this, it's a similar kind of garment in a way, but it is only one colour. We're looking at a
The
range
coffees.
It's the coffee colours with actually a little bit of black in it.
Yeah.
It's still got a bit of it's a medium value contrast because we've got those steps in between. It's blended.
Yeah, and you know, when I bought this, I was chatting with a woman in the store, and she was saying, "Oh, it looked lovely with black, and you could wear it with brown." And I'm thinking, I'll be wearing it with orange and turquoise and green. I won't be wearing it with black, and I won't be wearing it with brown either. How boring!
You might wear a pair of brown pants with it, but
Yes.
you'll definitely have a coloured top.
And what I mean by how boring is how boring for me. That is a beautiful, elegant look on other women.
Yes.
It just doesn't feel right for me. It's lacking some vibrancy.
And it's because Jill has the high colour contrast. She always needs to wear at least one colour, if not two. So that's one example. Here we actually have another one that has colour through it. So again, it doesn't have to be completely monochromatic. It can actually be something that includes a colour. So, and again, we've got that those steps that, like, if you haven't watched the video about just generally choosing prints, do watch that, because I do explain how with value contrast it's like walking down a set of stairs.
Yeah.
So this is walking down the stairs again, which is why it works for Jill, even though it does have the light and the dark elements, but it also brings in that element of colour as well.
Yeah, and I wear that with colour as well.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
I
in
don't wear
fact
it
it
with
actually
brown.
has green in it as well. There's some quite subtle green stripes, but it really it's there's green, there's orange, and there's brown.
Yeah.
Now here we have our much more traditional, what we expect from a leopard print.
Yes. Yeah.
And now if you look at this, it's actually got quite a large scale leopard print. It's not a teeny tiny little leopard print.
Yeah.
And so that's another thing you want to think about with your animal prints. Is what is the scale of the size?
Yeah.
Versus, if we had something here, the leopard print on here is actually, or the cheetah, it's a slightly smaller scale.
Yeah. And I confess that isn't something that I would immediately pay attention to. It tends to be a secondary consideration for me. But so important to think about, because those teeny tiny little ones, and I still have a few of those, I find that I go for them less, and I think it's because
they're too small, because you're medium scale.
Yeah.
And so you want something. Now, a leopard print, this is still only medium scale as a pattern goes.
Yeah.
It's not a large scale print, not like a great big, flower the size of your hand.
Right.
So that would overwhelm Jill.
Yeah.
But it's still got, so the scale is fine. The teeny tiny may look too small.
Yeah.
So you've got
and that feels bold when I wear it. It feels bolder than others, even though
does.
I think this is what people think of when they think of a lot of traditional leopard prints.
And this is where too, I think this is where, that because it feels bolder, because it's a bit larger.
You're right.
If someone's not dramatic, this may not be the right leopard print. You might find that if you're, that you want something more small and more subtle.
Yes.
If your personality isn't dramatic in the way that Jill's is.
The skirt's walking into the room and then you come in 10 minutes later, which is probably not what you want.
So here we have another animal print that has colour too. So it's got the beautiful turquoise in it. It's got an overall lighter feel, because it's overall lighter. It's got dark elements, but it's got overall lighter. So it feels overall lighter rather than overall dark.
Yeah.
Which again, it almost feels slightly higher contrast than some of the others.
Because of the colour, right?
Because of the colour. It's got the colour contrast, but also because it's got more of a starkness. It's kind of got light colours then with dark, rather than more medium colours with dark.
Right.
So that makes it feel slightly higher colour contrast.
Right.
Then we have a giraffe. Here is another different personality print. It's not a
Which you
leopard.
might recognise I was wearing in previous...
in other videos. And again, we've looked at this where it's got lighter browns and the darker browns back with the ivory.
But this is the most colour contrast of the ones we've just talked about, right?
Yes, and no, most value contrast.
Most value contrast, I'm sorry.
But
That's
what it does also have, it's also the largest scale.
Right, yeah.
So the scale of the print is larger. So if you're smaller scale, this would really feel overwhelming.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, of course, we can then go to,
Imogen's
an animal
collections.
print that is cool. So here we have a cool leopard.
Yeah.
And it's a slightly smaller, it's not a huge print. And this is actually a fairly low contrast. Like, it's not a really high contrast. Versus here is a very similar size print. But you can see because there's more lighter background, it feels higher contrast.
Yes, it does.
There's less like a lighter background. So it's a lower contrast. So think about what's the proportion of that light to dark?
And this one feels sort of more vibrant in a way, and this feels a little bit more elegant and understated.
Yeah. So if you go, well, I want something more subtle, it's like go for a lower contrast.
Yeah.
Versus this is more, it's more dramatic, it's more, it's a stronger piece.
But both are cool, and I think that's what's so interesting is you don't just have to go to zebra if you want cool. There are cool options.
I mean, we do have some zebra.
Yes.
But we don't have to. Now, another thing to think about when we are looking at something that may be higher contrast than ideally we'd like, but anything in a sort of more sheer fabric.
Yes.
So just like Jill's kimono,
what I'm wearing.
this one too, it's more sheer. So you can see what's underneath more easily, and it can feel lower contrast than something that's solid and dense.
Yeah.
Now, of course, there are other animals. Here is a snake.
Python.
It's a python print.
Love it.
So this is a more light dark, but because it feels like more shades of grey, it lowers the contrast.
It's
It actually feels like a python.
It does a bit.
But yeah, so this has got, because even though it's black and white, because it feels more grey, it actually lowers the feeling of the contrast. And it's a smaller, there are some larger elements of print. It's more graded, so it feels
this
a bit
is
more
perfect
subtle.
for you with your new lower contrast colouring, right?
Yes, and overall lighter, because it feels overall lighter rather than darker.
And in the flesh, it doesn't even look black and white. No. I know it is, but it doesn't have that appearance.
It doesn't look strong in that way.
Yeah.
Now here is another snake.
One of my favourite.
This one is in shades of blue, which therefore, it doesn't have to be black and white. It can, there are many animal prints, and here I have a cheetah or a leopard. That's a cheetah, I think, in green and black.
Yeah.
So do look around at different colours. Don't limit yourself. Don't assume that a print, like an animal print, only comes in black and white or only comes in shades of brown.
Yeah.
And I have seen cool brown animal prints too. Yes, not often, but I've seen them around over the years.
Yeah, right.
So it is something that you can get the cool brown versions too.
Yeah.
You can get the black and white. There are a lot of different options.
Yeah.
So then it's thinking, well, what suits me?
Absolutely.
What really works for me? And is the print wearing me? And often for animal prints, I find that if you don't class yourself as an animal print person, sometimes it's small, subtle accessories.
Yes.
It can be, a ring, a shoe, a scarf, rather than a whole garment.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, all those things are great to add even to. Sometimes I will wear leopard with leopard on those days when I'm feeling particularly adventurous. Normally I don't. But I also like that putting them together. I think that can be really, for me, it's really fun and funky.
And you really treat leopard as a neutral.
I do.
And we're actually going, well, is there any version in the same way of a pattern, another pattern that you can treat as neutral? And the only one I could think of really was stripes.
Yeah.
And there's more of a pinstripe, like a fine stripe rather than a large stripe. Yeah. They're probably the only two patterns that you can really treat almost as neutral bases for your wardrobe.
Yeah, and to me, animal print really can be worn by anybody who wants to wear it. If you don't like it, doesn't appeal to you, you just downright hate it, then of course
don't wear it.
That's right. Pay it no further attention. But certainly there's just a huge variety of it, and no matter what your personality, colouring, size, all those kinds of things, there is an animal print out there that you can find and love to wear.